McGowan, and I call Mr Jim Allister.
Here we are again, another non-report from what effectively is a non-committee. Indeed, things are so bad this time that this report is reduced to simply reciting its previous ineffective non-reports. I say a non-committee because the truth is that this committee is either not permitted or is incapable of original thought, because it only can act whenever it gets the nod from the Politburo to agree something. Otherwise, its sole function is to meet occasionally, just ever long enough to drink the free coffee, take the free scones, dip into the free fruit platter, and after 25 minutes, meeting over. That is the essence. That is the essence of this committee. Yes?
I thank the member for giving way. We don't actually get free scones anymore.
Good.
The member has an extra minute.
Oh, they made a decision. This committee made a decision, Mr Lunn says, that they would no longer, such was the level of embarrassment of their inactivity, they would no longer have free coffee, free scones and free fruit. Well done, this committee. Is that the product of all of this? Yes, sadly it is. But the real... Oh, of course, the chairman. Obviously, much more important things to do than be even here for this debate. After his 3-minute speech, he disappeared out of the chamber. The chairman told us, oh, but they'd had 53 research papers, 53 fig leaves, Mr Principal Deputy Speaker. That's what they've had, because they've done nothing with any of them. But of course, the real significance of today is that after 8 years, we reach the point when the DUP promise of 2007 stands naked and exposed. Because the promise of 2007 after St Andrews was, yes, this was for the gullible, of whom there were many. Yes, you're going to have to swallow mandatory coalition for 8 years. But we've got it into the Act. We have amended Section 29, and at the end of 8 years, in 2015, after 2 terms, there will be a review to end mandatory coalition. What a con. And yet members like the chairman, who had been on record as saying he'd rather go back to his shop than go into government with Sinn Féin, were gullible enough to swallow it, to peddle it, to pretend about it. And today he's probably out canvassing for a candidate who in 2005 took David Trimble's seat on the basis of a manifesto which said mandatory coalition with Sinn Féin was out of the question. And ever since has spent his time propping it up, as has the chairman. But this was the great promise for the gullible, that at the end of 8 years, there would be this mighty review. We weren't tied in perpetuity to mandatory coalition, but it would be magicked away by this review. That was the disingenuous nonsense that was peddled and which many of the gullible fell for, and some who wanted to fall for it grasped it with both hands. That's the truth, and that's the reality of what happened in that party. And today, the truth and the reality of this fatuous, vacuous report is that it doesn't even amount to a row of beans. Fitting, perhaps, with the disingenuous nature of the false promise so grandly made.
Mr Basil McCrae.
Thank you, Principal Deputy Speaker. Mr Allister referred to some people as gullible. I may be one of those gullible people because I voted yes for the Good Friday Agreement, and I would vote yes again for the Good Friday Agreement.
The gullible I was referring to were those who voted no to the Good Friday Agreement, who pretended they were still against the Good Friday Agreement and were so gullible to believe that they could endorse the Good Friday Agreement and through this review mechanism nonetheless get it changed. They were the gullible, not you, Mr McRae. You were always wrong.
Mr McRae has